Do yourself a favor and buy in bulk from Alpine Touch. Alpine Touch is a Montana institution. Montana's special spice has become world famous for its unrivaled all-purpose seasoning. Next time you need premium blends, herbs, and spices, buy at wholesale prices from Alpine Touch. Cinnamon, garlic powder, pepper, and much more are all available at alpinetouch.com. While you're shopping, get yourself some barbecue sauce or a bag of jerky. Shop alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch.
Are you ready to tackle your next real estate adventure? Whether you're hunting for your first home or diving into big league land acquisitions, Array Real Estate is in your corner. At Array Real Estate, they are not just a real estate team, they are your agents for life. Array Real Estate's mission? To help you crush your real estate goals one deal at a time. Array Real Estate's roots run deep in the heart of the Pacific Northwest as proud alumni of the University of Idaho. With offices in Coeur d'Alene and Seattle, the team is here to give you a legendary real estate experience. Your success isn't just a goal, it's their top priority. Everything from cozy homes to land development to commercial spaces, Array Real Estate has you covered. They are all about making your real estate dreams come true with a dash of Vandal pride. Ready to make a move? Visit ArrayRealEstate.com and join the fun on Instagram at ArrayRE. Let Array Real Estate turn your dreams into wins. Array Real Estate, your go-to team for all things real estate and proud sponsors of Vandals Weekly. Array Real Estate will make real estate magic with you. We take a break from all of our national championship lead-up coverage, give you a little episode of Vandals Weekly because the coaching carousel around the Big Sky Conference has been spinning rapidly, and we have several new coaches in the Big Sky Conference, including the young man who joins us next, Thomas Ford Jr., the new head coach at the University of Idaho. Coach, thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on today, and fired up to be here.
First of all, you have a lot of history in Moscow, not just the couple of years you spent as an assistant on Jason Eck's staff, but also previously just being a Northwestern guy. So tell people the story. I thought I didn't realize that about you, that you'd gone to camps there and stuff when you were a high school kid. So tell people about your sort of intermittent connections to Moscow over the years.
Yeah, I always say Moscow has had a way of continuing to bring me back. I started coming to Moscow back when I was a high school kid at Mount Lake Terrace High School out in the Seattle area. I think my sophomore year was the first year we came here, so that would have been like 1997. So, 97, 98, 99 summer, I'm here, bleeding and sweating. I remember Joel Thomas coaching me up when he was the running backs coach here back in the day when I was a high school kid. And then, when I went to college, I ran track in college. And so we would come to the indoor meet that Idaho had here every year. So 4 years in a row, I come to the Kibbe Dome to run in the Kibbe. And then, my brother, Tracy, my youngest brother, Tracy, played here kind of in that mid 2000s. I think he was here from 06 to 07 or something like that, in that time range. And so I remember just coming to a bunch of football games there in the Kibbe Dome, watching my brother play. And then, obviously my time as an assistant. So, this place is pretty special to me. And I just keep finding ways to come back.
Well, Idaho, I have thought, particularly since the University of Idaho returned to the Big Sky Conference as a full-fledged member in 2018, was a gold mine, a sleeping giant, whatever analogy you want to use, just because there is such a rich fan base, there's great tradition, but you don't have to create those things. Those things exist. And Jason Eck certainly capitalized on those things over the last 3 years, and you were a part of that on his staff the first 2 years during sort of the relaunching of the Idaho football program. What do you think of the opportunity now, though, and what are sort of the next steps to continue the trajectory of Idaho football?
Well, yeah, first and foremost, obviously, Coach Eck did a heck of a job getting this program turned around very quickly. And, the coolest part about it is I felt so much a part of it. The getting the culture set, getting our academic standards set, recruiting the type of student athletes that it's going to take to challenge for a Big Sky title. And so, the building blocks are here. This is not a program that is rebuilding, which is something that's new for me. I've been a head coach twice before and took over programs that were not very good before I got here. So this is very different than that. And I, in terms of just where I think this thing can go, I think we can win a Big Sky title. That's something that hasn't been done over the last 3 years. Obviously, we've had a little bit of playoff success, and we've done some things during the regular season. But at the end of the day, I want to chase that Big Sky title. I want to be mentioned with some of the great teams that have come through over these last 5 or 6 years, and I think winning the title sets you up for playoffs. I don't really care about talking about the playoffs at this point because, again, I want to do something that hasn't been done. We've made it to the playoffs. We've won in the playoffs, but we have not won the Big Sky. And so that's something that I think can definitely be achievable over these next few years.
Well, and as we talk right now, we're a couple days away from Montana State playing in the national championship game, and I think that those two things kind of go hand in hand, right? If you are the Big Sky champion and you are the one dominating this league, I think the Big Sky Conference is the best conference in the country, and I know the Missouri Valley has sort of reigned over that title for so long because they've had the national champions. We'll see what happens on Monday, but either way, if you are the Big Sky champion, you are one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country, and that's going to set you up for that playoff success. So the fact that Montana State is there right now, Montana was there last year, do you see sort of that vision of the fact that, if you are the best in the Big Sky, you can be amongst the best, if not the best in the country?
Absolutely. No, 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the Big Sky really is, arguably the best conference in all of FCS. And I don't think it's like a mystery that Montana State's there after winning the league. It's not a mystery that Montana had such great success a year ago. So again, I think when you look at what it takes to get to the national championship game, if you win the Big Sky, you have done that. You have gone through a gauntlet of playing physical teams, playing teams that have, different variations in their offense, variations in their defense and special teams. You've basically seen everything you could possibly see on the road to a title game during your league schedule.
I want to go back to the beginning part with your history at Linfield as a Linfield alum. One of my great friends in the journalism business, she actually covered Linfield in her first sports writing job out of college, and she loved McMinnville. And Linfield has like an insane winning tradition. I think they had something like 68 winning seasons in a row or something like that. So just talk about that element of it. I mean, because a lot of people might not know about that college or that program, but certainly there's been so much winning that's been done there. How much did, going to school there and being a part of that influence you?
In a major way. I think I really owe a lot of my football success, especially culture building success, to my time at Linfield. That was the greatest classroom I could have ever had for a football coach because, again, there's just a standard there. The standard of excellence has been set so high, the bar has been set so high that you have to inherit winning traits. You have to inherit a winning mentality and the steps to get you there, to even play there or certainly coach there. And so I think a lot of the lessons I learned at Linfield really have helped propel my coaching career. And I think it's given me a great advantage in terms of just understanding the process to win. And I think that's probably what Linfield's done such a good job of over these past 68 years or whatnot, is building culture and having an expectation and a standard, and then, having the program continuity to continue to do that. You look at their history and every head coach, I don't want to say every, but almost every head coach at Linfield played or coached there before they took over that program. And so I see a lot of what's happening here at Idaho, right, is the same, right? Coach Eck was a winner, and I was a coach that was under him and saw how to make that happen. And, I really want to continue that legacy. And again, just like Linfield, building off the success. Success leaves clues, right? And I think that the clues that Coach Eck left were huge for us, and we'll continue to chase them and again, try to uphold that standard. And again, Linfield is a perfect example of said program. So I could not say enough about my time there and all the things that I learned, and most importantly, just how to win and the process to get there.
I also wanted to ask you about your time at Simon Fraser, because you talk about rebuilds, and I know that was a huge rebuild for you there. I covered the GNAC my first job out of college, covering Central Washington, when Simon Fraser first decided to play, American rules, American football. And there was so much intrigue with all of that too, because then Central Washington and Western Washington before they dropped football, and
R.I.P.
Humboldt.
Western.
I know, man. I was there at Central during that exact time when Western dropped it, and all of a sudden, oh, you got like 30 guys that want to come play at Central Washington, and they got a whole bunch of really good players from that.
Sure.
But either way, just the intrigue of how do we get over the border to Burnaby? Like, what's the process of getting everybody a passport? Like,
right.
That was also interesting. But doing that and being there, one of the only Canadian places that wants to play American League football, what were the challenges like, and what sort of things did that teach you as a head coach?
Obviously it had a host of challenges. Obviously being an international school, you were dealing with the financial piece. For example, any federal dollars you would receive from your FAFSA, you couldn't use because it's out of the country. So I think the financial piece was definitely something that was extremely challenging. The academic piece was challenging as well. You're looking for really talented student athletes that can play the game, but they've also got to have a really good GPA. They've got to have some test scores to back. And so you're really looking for a very niche player, right? Not a lot of guys out there with 3.5 GPAs, 1,200 SAT scores, also can play football at a high level. So I think, the financial piece, the academic piece were certainly challenges. And then the culture of the college atmosphere in Canada is very different. In the United States, most of us are tied to colleges emotionally through sports or athletics, right? Whether we played or we were fans as students. And that culture is just not quite the same. A lot of international students coming from all around the globe that might not have ever seen a football game before. And, whether they have or not, they may not want to come back when they're done, or they may not want to, give back in terms of charitable donations because it just wasn't that important to them. So there was a ton of challenges, but there was also a ton of really unique and awesome opportunities, right? I thought the opportunity for, players from Canada to play all of their games in the United States in terms of their away games, and then vice versa, having kids from the U.S. going to a very high prestigious international school was just a very unique and awesome opportunity. We had such a broad variety of players and that came from all different types of backgrounds. And I thought that part was probably the most rewarding, just, seeing these guys that were from like Ontario, Canada, and then these other dudes that are from like San Diego, and they're like boys, right? They're like tight, so I think that melting pot of people and cultures was really, really rewarding and easily the coolest thing there. And then obviously location didn't hurt. Being so close to Vancouver was an awesome sell and a pretty easy one as well.
Are you ready to tackle your next real estate adventure? Whether you're hunting for your first home or diving into big league land acquisitions, Array Real Estate is in your corner. At Array Real Estate, they are not just a real estate team, they are your agents for life. Array Real Estate's mission? To help you crush your real estate goals one deal at a time. Array Real Estate's roots run deep in the heart of the Pacific Northwest as proud alumni of the University of Idaho. With offices in Coeur d'Alene and Seattle, the team is here to give you a legendary real estate experience. Your success isn't just a goal, it's their top priority. Everything from cozy homes to land development to commercial spaces, Array Real Estate has you covered. They are all about making your real estate dreams come true with a dash of Vandal pride. Ready to make a move? Visit ArrayRealestate.com and join the fun on Instagram @ArrayRE. Let Array Real Estate turn your dreams into wins. Array Real Estate, your go-to team for all things real estate and proud sponsors of Vandals Weekly. Array Real Estate will make real estate magic with you.
Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
That element you just talked about is one of my favorite parts about covering college football, especially in, sort of rural places like the Big Sky Conference towns are. Some of them aren't, Portland and Sacramento and all those aren't, but certainly Missoula and Bozeman and Moscow and Pocatello, they're more rural places. But
Sure.
you get to see guys from, in state, whether it's Idaho or Montana, get to know guys from Washington and Oregon and California and Texas and all these different things. So how do you sort of hope that melting pot accentuates your program and it helps build, sort of chemistry within the roster?
Well, I think it starts with recruiting. I think regardless of where someone's from, when you're looking for guys that have similar traits, high character guys, care about academics, love football, it really doesn't matter where they're from. And so when they come together and they have that common ground to start, I think it just makes it really easy for those guys to build those unbreakable bonds. And so, whether a guy's from rural Idaho or, inner city Seattle, they're here for the same purpose. They are similar in terms of what we're looking for in a player. And so those similarities kind of automatically put them in a position of common ground. And whenever, and as you know, right, in anything, if you have common ground, there's now a basis to work together. And I think that's what's so neat. Like you said, that's what's so neat about college football and specifically places like the Big Sky, where you are going to get kids from all over the Northwest, the West Coast and beyond, and they're from all different walks of life. And so that's something that I really take great pride in terms of the guys we bring in here. And when they leave here, now they have connections everywhere. They've got connections all over the country, and they feel like they've got brothers, in pretty much every part of the United States.
Vandals Weekly, presented in part by Array Real Estate. Appreciate Array Real Estate for their continued support of our Idaho Vandals coverage. Tell us just about the sort of process of this whole hiring, because Idaho loses in the quarterfinals of the playoffs to Montana State, and boom, bam, all these things are going around, and then Jason Eck is out, and less than a week later, you're hired. So take us through how it all went, and also in the midst of that, so many different transfer portal entries, and I know that you've been working really hard on recruiting your own roster back to you, and you've had a lot of success doing that too. So just take us through like the whirlwind of your first sort of week on the job leading up to getting hired, and then also afterwards.
Yeah, whirlwind is a great word to describe that. I felt like everything happened so quickly. I felt so connected to the program. I watched every single game I possibly could. If we weren't playing, when they were playing, I was watching them. In fact, that playoff game, I was at the Nutcracker Ballet with my family, and I kind of had my phone underneath my jacket. I'm watching the game.
I love it.
I know that the game got a little bit lopsided, but I just wanted to see the fight in those guys and watch that whole game. And, then obviously the next morning it gets announced that Coach Eck is leaving. And, Coach Eck is a really good friend of mine. And so I kind of had an idea that might be happening just with the conversations we had leading up to it. But when it actually happened, it was crazy because, in my mind, I'm like, hey, I really hope they give me a call. I'd sure love to at least interview, and then within, 24 hours, there's like a social media campaign blowing up, and the players are saying we need to hire Coach Ford.
That must have been such an honor for you, right? I mean, because there was a whole bunch of players that had helped recruit that were saying, hey, we got to get this done. We got to get this guy hired. That must have been so cool for you.
Oh, it was. That honestly, that was probably one of the most surreal moments of my coaching career, just to, because obviously I think very highly of myself as a coach, and I feel like I'm qualified, and, I'm the right guy for the job, and I'm just looking for an opportunity. But that's me, right? But to see other people, players, our fans, our other supporters wanting the same thing and thinking the same thing was like, I don't know if anything could have touched my heart any better, and so I'm the whole time, people are texting, Coach, are you coming back? I'm like, I don't know. I would love to, but I haven't heard from anyone in administration. And so that was, obviously Saturday, the news broke with Coach Eck. We get through that weekend, we get to Monday, and my wife's like, you ought to just text Terry, email Terry. Terry, you and Terry have a good relationship. And I'm like, don't worry about it. She'll call me if she wants me to interview. And so I end up, my wife is awesome. So I end up emailing her because she's like, just email her, So I email her and I say, hey, Terry, just want to make sure you knew that I was definitely really interested in the job. And, she emailed me within like an hour and said, Coach, no, you were already on a short list for us. We'd love to speak with you more about the opportunity. So that was a Monday. She says, hey, can you get on a Zoom with us Tuesday, the next day? So Tuesday night, we get on a Zoom. We kind of talk about the state of the program. They asked me a bunch of questions. I felt like the interview went really well. And, Terry says, hey, this process is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to use a search firm. We've got a very short list of people. We just want to kind of have our committee decide on our candidate, have them meet with President Green. And if President Green's a go, we're all a go. And so we get done with the interview. I don't know, it was probably a 45-minute, hour interview. And, I get done with it. I go back to my house. I'm having some dinner with the family. Terry calls me and says, hey, do you think you can do a Zoom? She goes, do you think you can Zoom with President Green, maybe tomorrow morning or like in 5 minutes? And so I say, well, let's do it in 5 minutes. Let's just do it. I'd love to talk with him. So, President Green and I have an excellent conversation, and he's just an awesome guy. Like I've been around a lot of universities, and I don't know that I've been around a place where the president of the university was so actively involved, especially in athletics. And so I have already built a relationship with Scott, and it was just awesome conversation. And, we hang up the phone and Terry kind of texts me right back, hey, get back on the Zoom. And they offer me the job, and so, within 24 hours, I kind of think about it, make sure we get all the kind of logistics of the contract worked out. And my wife is kind of like I don't have an agent. And so my wife is like my agent, and she's super sharp on, reading contracts and things like that. And so everything looked fair and everything, really looked agreeable. And we came to terms pretty quickly. And, that next day on Wednesday, I believe was the 18th, 17th or 18th, I'm hired. And so it was kind of a crazy process because I hadn't even had a chance to articulate my thanks for Oregon State quite yet before the release came out. And so it was definitely a firestorm during the moment, but it was awesome. I mean, honestly, Colter, it was one of those situations where it was almost like a movie, man. It was like, is this really happening? And at the end of the day, I just really appreciate the process. They did their due diligence. I know for a fact they interviewed 4 other very strong candidates, but at the end of the day, I think it was very clear to them that I was the right person to take this next step. I really believe that if they would have hired outside of the Coach Eck tree, I don't think these guys all jump out of the portal. I think they're off in, wherever else they are, FBS, FCS, a lot of good players in the portal. And so, obviously the process since then has been awesome. Just communicating with the guys. The first team meeting we had on Zoom was awesome. There was over 85 guys on the Zoom. And it was just one of those kind of surreal moments where it's like, man, I miss these guys. I had been around a lot of these guys in a year, and it was just awesome to see their faces. So many guys were so excited for me and about me being the head coach now. And so I had a really good feeling about a lot of the guys in the portal that didn't really want to leave Idaho. They were just uncertain, right? And I get it. Like, it's a scary time for a collegiate athlete. You lose your head coach that you really like, and you have no idea who they're going to bring in. And so it was really neat to, after that Zoom, start having some individual conversations with those guys. And, those guys telling me, Coach, hey, man, don't you worry, Coach. I'm back. I want to win the Big Sky too.
So what's the next couple weeks, couple months, and, half a year offseason look like for the University of Idaho?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we definitely had some departures. I think there's some great players that would have, probably moved on to a higher level than the FCS, regardless of who the head coach was. I think of, Jordan Dwyer, Mark Hamper, Aiden Knappich, Dallas Avalava. I think those guys would have moved on regardless. So now the challenge is replacing some of those holes that we have with the older players. Defensively, we graduated a ton of guys, and some really good guys have left the program. But, filling those holes has kind of been our number one priority. We got a pretty good visit weekend coming up already this weekend, and then we'll have another one, over the next week or so to try to get our mid-year guys that we need. But at the end of the day, we always want to get the right fit. So we're not going to just force guys into the program. We want to make sure that the guys we bring in fit the culture, fit the kind of the criteria that we deem as successful. And so we'll really handle that over the next couple of weeks. And then obviously our players all get back on the 7th. So we'll spend kind of that first 10 days on campus in Moscow. And like I've told our guys, I want to make sure that we recruit our own guys, right? We need to re-recruit our players. A lot of them are going to have new position coaches. So building those relationships, having those meetings, getting those guys in one-on-one with their position coaches, I think is going to be critical. And then, those last couple of weeks of January, we'll hit the ground running again with recruiting. We'll get our guys out on the road, really specifically in the Northwest and kind of staying on the West Coast to really own our footprint, making sure that those high school coaches know that we are always going to recruit this footprint. That's going to be how we make our living in terms of our recruiting process, and then fill in any additional holes that we might have with high school kids, right? We still want to build this program from the ground up, and I don't think you can do that by going to get only transfers. And so there's a couple of high school holes that we'll fill, and then at the end of the month, we'll have kind of our culminating high school visit, and we'll have our signing day, take a little bit of a break, and then we'll right back to it that following week in February.
Thomas Ford Jr. here on the Big Sky Breakdown, as well as Vandals Weekly, an extension of the Big Sky Breakdown. Coach, let's do it again soon. I have a couple more philosophical questions, but let's string this out a little bit and give people content. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being here, man.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you having me. It's awesome talking with you, Colter, and I look forward to the next time.
Are you ready to tackle your next real estate adventure? Whether you're hunting for your first home or diving into big league land acquisitions, Array Real Estate is in your corner. At Array Real Estate, they are not just a real estate team, they are your agents for life. Array Real Estate's mission? To help you crush your real estate goals one deal at a time. Array Real Estate's roots run deep in the heart of the Pacific Northwest as proud alumni of the University of Idaho. With offices in Coeur d'Alene and Seattle, the team is here to give you a legendary real estate experience. Your success isn't just a goal, it's their top priority. Everything from cozy homes to land development to commercial spaces, Array Real Estate has you covered. They are all about making your real estate dreams come true with a dash of Vandal pride. Ready to make a move? Visit ArrayRealEstate.com and join the fun on Instagram @ArrayRE. Let Array Real Estate turn your dreams into wins. Array Real Estate, your go-to team for all things real estate and proud sponsors of Vandals Weekly. Array Real Estate will make real estate magic with you.